guys. I'm Jimmy C, host of the Instapreneur podcast, and today we have on a very good friend, Mr. Mario Fabbri, who is the host of a cooking show called Trying Vegan with Mario. So, Mario, welcome on, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much, Jimmy, having me on your podcast. I love you, dude. Love everything that you're doing. And excited just to paint a little picture. I'm out here at my house in lovely Sherman Oaks, California. It's kind of like a gray day. Got my workout smoothie, got all the berries, flax seeds, and healthy stuff in here, just make me feel good. And a little basketball hoop action, after the podcast. So we're doing good.
Good stuff. So, dude, what for people who don't know, what is Trying Vegan with Mario? And we'll start there. What is that?
Yeah, so Trying Vegan with Mario, that is my cooking show where I am on a mission to find the best nutrient-dense plant-based recipes. It's kind of like backtracking. Growing up, I was farthest thing from vegan. I used to work in my dad's Italian sausage factory for a little while. And then growing up, getting into college, I was kind of following, the standard American diet, eating a lot of candy, party food, whatever kind of came up. And then one of my best friends got in the best shape of his life, lost like 100 pounds by eating plant-based food. And it just made me rethink all the food that I was eating. I was looking like I was in great shape, but it made me think, what is this food doing to me on the inside? So then I started to change my diet, and I was trying to figure out the best ways to learn how to eat nutrient-dense plant-based foods and what I should be doing. And I just kind of saw this whole disconnect between plant-based food and the everyday person, where a lot of the focus on plant-based food was told by the stories of people who've been vegan for 10, 20, 30 years, and people that I just couldn't feel like I could relate to, So I'd be watching the show and it'd be, this YouTuber talking about a vegan sausage recipe, even though they haven't had meat in 10 or 20 years. So I was thinking, that doesn't relate to me. How can I create my own experience where I can learn how to cook plant-based food and ask the types of questions that I actually have throughout this process? So that's kind of how I came up with Trying Vegan with Mario. So the whole idea is I am transitioning into eating plant-based food, and I invite expert vegan chefs and nutritionists into my kitchen to teach me their best plant-based recipes. And I'm kind of like the show host, critic. One episode somebody gives me a vegan bacon and one recipe tastes good, but the other one tastes like crap. So, I'll go full Gordon Ramsay and chuck it across the kitchen and have fun in the kitchen. But ultimately, the whole purpose of the show is me inviting expert guests to teach me the best recipes so I can help other people transition to eating more plant-based food. Boom. Elevator pitch.
Podcast
from the 90th floor to the bottom.
Dude, yeah, no, that's dope though. So also, obviously what you're doing is great. And for people who don't know, well, one, you should check his show out. But two, you've really gotten busy in the last year, dude.
Yeah.
From when it started to where it's at. Did you think it was going to happen this quick?
No, I didn't think it was going to happen this quick. I honestly thought this was going to be a lot easier than I ever imagined, which is a fatal flaw with anything that you do. Because first of all, you shouldn't be thinking about the work. You should be thinking about the reasons that you're doing it and what you want to do with your time. And if you're enjoying yourself in the present moment, which is obviously a constant learning battle for a lot of people who are really investing themselves creatively into the stuff that they're doing. And the everyday person, it's important to try and stay present and enjoy it. But yeah, I didn't think this was going to be nearly as much work as it's turned out to be. But if anything, it has made me realize that it is something that I wholeheartedly want to do, am dedicated to, have actively made a commitment to, that I'm going to be doing this for the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years of my life. And it's really important right now that I create that foundation, and I'm willing to make those sacrifices. This last year, I haven't had much of a social life. I haven't gone out and partied and done the typical things that people my age are doing. And a lot of things that I honestly do enjoy doing and want to go out to do, but I'm willing to make those sacrifices because the show is growing, things are happening. I don't want to pass up on the next incredible opportunity because it could be the one that breaks me to a new level. And that's really how the entire show started. Was this is a huge opportunity. You're going to have to work like a maniac to even be ready in the position to have that opportunity even be an option. But I was just like, screw it. I'd way rather be doing that than anything else right now. So yeah, it's been a crazy busy year, man. But even on the word busy, I'm trying to figure out how can we replace the word busy?
Right. I got you. No, that's a good time.
You ask people what are you doing? And they're like, oh, I'm so busy. Right.
Right.
All the time. People are so busy, and it kind of is this negative connotation to it, which it doesn't have to, but how can we even remove busy? I don't even want to say I'm busy, but I'm man, I'm jam packed and shit's flowing and I'm about it. Like that's, that's busyness to me. So I like it.
No, that's good. But actually, of course, I don't remember where I heard this, but I literally the other day I read an article, which I do a lot, and it said something about replacing the word busy because of what you were saying, how like if like for people ask me and I'll say the same thing, like I'm busy. So they'll say there was a couple of them, of course I don't remember all of them, but one of them was saying like if someone asks you to do something, instead of saying like I'm busy, you could just say like I don't have the energy right now, or like, so it's like a redirect around it. But it's designed to be like not in a bad way. It's like pretty much saying the same thing as you're busy. It's just like in a different manner.
Yeah. I think like it's really important that the way that you talk reflects the way that you think, reflects the way that you act, reflects the person that you become. So even for example, like I was given this little word tip a long time ago when I was just kind of starting to invest into my personal growth in my time, where I found myself, and so many people find themselves like talking about things that they need to do, that they have to do, as if it is a burden. So what I did was I'm just going to remove like that need and that have to and replace it with want, excited, appreciative for, and blessed to even be able to do that. It's like, I don't have to edit a video tonight. Like I get to edit a video tonight of my cooking show, and it sounds so corny and cheesy.
No,
sometimes.
it's true though.
Like if you commit to changing the way that you talk out verbally, it changes the way that you talk inside of your head. It changes the way that you judge yourself. And it could be a huge shift from being negative to just being positive in general. So I think that kind of touched on like a really good example of shifting busy and making it more of a, you're kind of saying the same thing, but you're not.
Yeah, I got you. I understand what you mean. No, that's a good idea. I might try that because to be honest, I have a video I need to edit and I've been slacking on it. And yeah, dude, I always say like I have to do this, but I should. Yeah, man, I'm gonna try that because
just try it out. Little things.
No, but for real, because those little things are the things that lead you to bigger things, right?
Yep.
Talking about that too, like I know I talk about mindset a lot, but like it is the little things, dude, that lead up to the big things. So like when you got to tell yourself, you can do this. Like for me at the podcast, man, like I got so much stuff going on. I just got out of a lesson with training a dog, and I come here and I'm scrambling around trying to find my notebook and my pen and my charger and everything, bro. But like sometimes when, I challenge myself to say, just do it, and so far it's going, man. It's a lot of work, but I don't look at it like kind of like what you said. It's like, for me, this is fun, dude. I get to have people on that I know, and people, well, I haven't had anyone on that I don't know yet, but eventually, and it's like you get to have a dope conversation and find out things about people that you wouldn't otherwise find out.
Yeah, I think it's huge, and just making that commitment to doing it. It's something that so many people lack in so many different ways, and I think that that's okay. I think that you don't have to, but if you're somebody who's wishing you had more out of your life, if you're somebody who is not happy with where you are, then take a look at your ability to commit to things and commit to a habit and have it become who you are.
Right.
It takes effort, but
no, that's a good thing. Actually, speaking on the habit thing, you just made me think of something you always talked about with me, and you said, I suck at saying this word, but mantra, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So you're a big guy on those, right?
Yes.
You like setting those, but that's a good thing. I've been slacking on that, but I need to, but actually 1 month I did it. I told myself, you're going to work your ass off this month. You're not really going to go out. You're just going to do this. And I did, but, yeah, I think that's a good thing to, go by for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like you at home or anybody at home, think about right now, like what are the types of thoughts that go through your head? Say you're preparing for a sales meeting. You're a little bit nervous for it. Are you replaying different types of conversations in your head where you have to take a defensive standpoint, where you're coming from the place of negative? You're assuming the other person is going to come back, and you're going to have to get into a negotiation and it's a battle. And a lot of times that's just like where we naturally go. But if you can, I found like if I have a mantra in my head where I'm like, if I was just saying like, I'm going to walk in this conversation and I'm kind of repeating to myself, like, this person is going to be really excited about my ideas and they're going to want to work with me. This person is going to like really enjoy this and it's going to go very smoothly. Then you don't have to come from such a defensive place. And 9 times out of 10, like it's not even a defensive conversation. Like people get together because they want to do things and it becomes mutually beneficial.
Right.
But a lot of times we just assume we have to protect ourselves. But once we shed that layer and once we have positive self-talk, then things just flow way more naturally, and you get a lot further ahead with people that enjoy spending time with you. And there's way less of this like in it for type of attitude, way less resistance.
No, I love that, man. Actually, like I literally just had a new lady whose dog I'm training, and it was like first week. So it's a 7-week program, and it was the first week we met, and it was that kind of what you're talking about. Like for me, you know, I know you know probably, or at least a little bit, but like I've really in the last year, I've kind of, I don't want to say I don't care what people think, but I've really gotten to the point where I'm just comfortable being myself around like everyone, or I try to be to the most that I can. And so like with this woman, she was like, I just got the vibe and everything that she was like very cool right away. And we just like started talking and everything was flowing and like there was no resistance, where sometimes it's like that first lesson, like the people give me this like, you know, they give off a certain, it's like you said, like the defensive thing, you know, where it's like we were both on offense, dude. We were just shooting threes, man. Like,
yeah,
but
exactly.
it was cool because we just like, the way I look at it, it's like I'm not in business to just like take someone's money or whatever. Like I'm in it to make a relationship and I mean help train their dog. But like if you're willing to be cool and help each other out in other ways, then I'm down, you know. And she's a doctor and whatever, and we just started talking about like other things about dog training, and it was just cool because it was the same thing. Like it wasn't like that pent up thing where it's like with I have another customer who other customers who they give you that, you know, like they're kind of just there for work for what you're going to give them and leave. And that's cool. I mean, that's fine. I'm more of like I'm trying to build relationships with everyone, but man, it's I think what you said is kind of like dead on.
No, it sounds, just enjoy more time with people.
Yeah, no. And that's another thing too, that I've really kind of shifted in the last years, like trying to meet new people, whether it's guys or girls, dude, just talking like about cool stuff, man. Like I can't do the small talk. I think you're the same, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Like I can't do the weather and that.
Yeah, it's something you like have to do, you know. It's hard to avoid. Like, how do we avoid? Like, what's the ultimate way of avoiding small talk? You know, I've heard some like joking answers where like if you're sparking a conversation with somebody apart, you just start with the most outlandish shit and just cut through.
Yeah.
I don't even have a good example, but
no, I got you though.
Small talk is hard to avoid.
Well, actually, yeah. I mean, well, I'm not saying avoid it 100%, but I'm saying like I'm in as far as meeting new people. Like, I don't know what people talk about. I don't know, dude. I rather talk about like the universe and like cool stuff, improvement, business.
Yeah. Like, what's Elon Musk's most recent rocket up to? Like,
like that.
Where are we heading? You know, I hear we can grow a replacement ear in a petri dish for deaf people. You know, like let's hit that level of conversation. You know, stuff that progresses the world forward. And I think we're at an interesting age. You know, I think you're 26.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm 26 right now as well, and I see this huge shift, right? So 26, we're at an interesting time where we've spent majority of our lives in a system, in an infrastructure that is school, that is typical jobs when you're going to school, that have controlled our entire schedule. And then we become 22, let's say, for example, you graduate college. I didn't graduate college, but I felt that moment when I was 22 as if I had just graduated from something and it was time to move on to the next thing. And now we're 26, so we've had about 4 years to figure it out. And we've been relying on the entire previous 20 years to set us up and put us in a good position. And now we're figuring out, it's like, oh, what does Jimmy want to do? Like, what does Mario want to do besides everything that everybody's been telling me that I should be doing?
Right.
And how do I find the other people who are thinking similarly to I have? Because before that as well. And it's easy to get stuck into this. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, some people go work at a job and your best friends are within your office, or some people are continuing their education and you have strong friends from school. But if you take yourself out of that, and if you feel like an oddball in that system, which I always felt like an oddball in those systems, it can be hard to find your tribe and to find your type of people that relate to this new version of yourself, which is, the way I look at it, is like, that's your chosen self. A lot of times throughout school, like that's the self that was kind of created for you and gifted to you by your parents, and depending on whatever your social economic status is, whatever you were blessed with or whatever you lack, but that is something that was handed to you in a lot of ways from birth. But now it's like, this is the chosen self. Who's your chosen self want to be, and how do you find those people? And that could be a really hard thing to figure out. Like right now, I live in Los Angeles. A big part of the reason I moved here was because I knew, I had investigated that this is a very fluid place for people who are trying to get involved in healthy food. It's a very great place for people who are trying to start companies, people that can network, who care about the things that I'm interested in. And I moved here to, like, you know, in a lot of ways, find and meet some of those people. So you got to travel. I mean, it's tough, like being 26 right now. It's a blessing, but there's a lot of stuff that we want to figure out, and people mock us for being millennials as if like we always have to have purpose and we have to have passion. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that we're just demanding a better life. We're demanding better school systems. We're demanding better food systems, and we're trying to like force this stuff to change. Meanwhile, escape a mindset that was given to us for 20 years before that.
That's what's crazy is like, yeah, you hit on a lot of stuff. That's good. But that's what's crazy is like the fact, like for me and you, for sure. I know we talk about this a lot, but it's like the fact that we have like retrained our minds to think differently. And like, I've always felt like I was, I don't want to say oddball, but I guess you could say that oddball kind of thing as far as like, dude, I didn't want to go to class and learn about like X, Y, and Z. I'd rather talk about this stuff or whatever. So it's interesting. And then when you shift habits and patterns, so like for me, I try and stay fit. I try and eat healthy. I need to eat a little bit better, but there's all these things that it's like you said, it's your new self, and finding people to align with that is not always super easy, because there's a lot of people that honestly just eat like shit and like, they don't care. And then, even in the last 4 years, you see people that just have totally gained weight or whatever. And it's because, I don't want to say maybe they do care, but they just don't act like they care. But, yeah, that's the thing. In like the norm, I mean, I've had friends, family, and just new people I met, you know, people would be like, dude, like you need to go out, you need to do this, you need to have fun, you need to live life, as people say to me. And I'm like, I don't really say this to them, but in my mind, I'm like, dude, I'm doing what I want to do. And I'm not saying it's going to work, but I'm willing, like you said, to sacrifice certain times to hopefully create a better life for myself.
Yep. Exactly.
It's not easy, man. Like, it's not easy.
No.
You know,
no, this stuff is not hard. Like, I mean, this stuff is not easy. This stuff is hard. But I don't know. It's so cliche to say, but like, you regret the stuff that you don't do more than you regret the stuff that you do.
Right.
So I would never want to regret not taking this risk. I would, you know, somebody was like, hey, yeah, you want a cooking show? And I was just like, hell yeah. I didn't even think about, I mean, I applied, I interviewed, I prepared myself. I was in the right place at the right time. It was way more strategic than that. But at the same time, it was like, I'm not going to pass up on this opportunity. You know, I would regret ever saying no to that. So couldn't do it. Go for it.
No, you gotta just sometimes you just gotta jump at things, man. So how do you, what would you say like the hardest thing is about being so busy, or like, yeah, I guess we'll leave it at that. I don't know if that's a good question, but like what's the hardest thing for you about, you know, like say like finding time to go to the gym, or like, cause you obviously like can't totally work 24/7.
Yeah. I would say that the hardest thing for me about this right now is kind of counterintuitive to what I said, because it is a growth and it is a struggle to find that like positive mindset, because I have so many highs and so many lows, and my highs are way up there,
right,
and I love it. And that's my fuel. Like, for example, the first episode of my cooking show, one of the first, was with this guy, Dr. Joel Furman. So backing up, when I decided to start my cooking show, I made a list of who are the top guests I'd ever want to have on my cooking show, right? And then I reach out to 100 of these people, and I don't hear back from anyone, you know? And then I was in this high because I was like visioning these things happening. And then I'm in this low because none of it's working. I have deadlines. I have to get the pilot out. I have to come up with sponsorship money. I have to do all these things. So now I'm at this low, like, how am I going to put this together? But then out of the blue, the number one person on that list, his publicist reached out to me, and she was like, hey, this guy's Dr. Joel Furman. He wrote this book called Eat to Live, and this book called Fasting and Eating for Health, and so many other incredible pieces of work. He's been a pediatrician for about 25 years, and he is a master at nutritional science and basically reversing people of chronic illnesses through changing the way that they eat. And this was amazing. The publicist was like, yes, he'll be a guest on your show, but you have to be at this one place at this one specific time in New York City. You got 2 hours. Can you make this happen? And in my head, I'm just like, I was then on that phone call. I had my highest high because I got a yes. And then I had my lowest low because it was like, how the heck am I going to figure it out? And in hindsight, I wish I was able to appreciate that journey a little bit more, because I remember in those moments being so stressed and just like feeling so negative of like, how am I going to figure this out? My life depends on finding the production team, getting the sponsorship money, getting to New York City, finding a studio, and organizing all these things. And then my mind is like, well, how are you actually going to be as a host with him as a guest? You know, I'm like total incredible fan of this person. He's my idol, you know. Now I have all this pressure of like, oh, this guy's had his own shows on PBS. How am I going to live up to this expectation of even bringing him on my show? So then I start going that direction, and then I'm there filming, and he's a guest on my show, and it goes amazingly well. And then I'm at the highest I've ever been, and then I'm like, yes, you killed this. Like, oh, so proud of all the work I did, you know. And then the next thing happens, and it's the same cycle over and over again. So I'm still like struggling with it, but there are so many highs and lows to the levels of risks you have to take sometimes when you're just starting out. I think a lot of it is when you're just starting out. I'm getting close to a foundational point where my sponsorship money is starting to be more fluid. Guests are starting to reach out to me, and things are starting to shift. But I'd say like in the past year, the hardest part for me has been managing my expectations and seeing where I can be in the future, but then accepting the fact that I'm not there yet and not everything is going to work out the way that I plan, and then just like letting go.
Right. Well, I think a lot of people, I mean, no, that's cool. And that's badass that, you know, you got your number one guy on there. I know we talked about that, but that's crazy. But I mean, going back to how you said it all just flowed well when he came on, I think too, a lot of it's like that initial like jitters, you know, you're like, holy shit, like my idol's coming on, blah, blah, blah. And then once you get going, like, you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about. So it gets going. And I can relate to that in a different manner. When I like recently presented my online dog training business, the Crafty Pup, it to my colleges. They had like it's like Shark Tank, but just for my, you know, my college. And I know I kind of, you gave me some advice a little bit, but like talking in front of like there's 4 judges, and it's like getting up there. I'm like, shit, man, I'm nervous. But then once I got talking, it was like, boom. So that's, I can relate to that.
How do you balance? So when you were doing that, was there like, how did you feel in the moment versus how you felt after, versus like, how do you feel before, during, and then after?
So it was interesting because I got there, I had to present. I was the first one to present Saturday morning. And honestly, dude, they said you had to have 10 PowerPoint slides. So for you only had 10 minutes, which kind of sucked because that was not a long time at all for me to talk about. I could talk about this for hours and people are still like, huh, what is it? But yeah, so I was like, I didn't prepare because I talk about this every day to people. So everyone else is like, they prepared. They said, wait, I don't know if I just said this, but they said you should prepare a minute or an hour per slide. So like they had 10 hours of prep time. I'm like, dude, what? Like, no, I just talk about this all the time. So once I felt good, I showed up. I was a little anxious, but I, you know, felt good. And then once they called me in, I started getting like nervous. And then I would say I was nervous for like 10 to 30 seconds max.
Okay.
Like boom.
Boom.
And it was like in the zone, you know? And then after I felt good, but I started thinking to myself, like I could have done some things differently, but that's part of the process. Like if I was to pitch a company right now, you know, because I was pitching to win $5,000 in a lot of publicity. So I ended up finishing second. But yeah, man, it's just like, and now, I mean, like I said, now I learned a lot, you know what I mean? Like going back, I would have been more of myself. I followed what they told me to do. I would have been more of a rebel. And looking back at it, what I mean by the rebel is the fact that like they wanted to know in the PowerPoint slides about like my competitors, this, that, and the other. And then after I presented it and analyzed it, I felt really good about it. But I went back and I was like, dude, you know what? I had to paint a picture better to them because I know what I'm talking about, but they don't. So like, one of the judges at the banquet after told me, he was like, yeah, if you would have included more videos so we could see. So it's like, I should have included more videos of like inside the course, this, that, and the other. But I didn't think of that, dude, because I only had 10 minutes and I was just like hitting on what they told me to do. So, but yeah, I mean, overall, like once you get going, you just go. And that's another thing I've learned though, is like, once you get to the point where you're like comfortable with what you're talking about and you get going, I've realized there's like, not saying you won't be nervous, but like I just try and think of it like the mindset of like, dude, like, why are you nervous, dude?
Yeah,
Relax.
know
You
your
know,
stuff.
that's what I'm saying. So like a lot of these other people I talked to were freaking out, they said, whereas I just went up there and was just like pretending like I was talking to you or whatever.
Yeah, it's money. Yeah. And one thing you kind of hint at, which I think was really important for me, is that nerves are in a lot of ways just your body preparing itself for what's coming up.
Right.
So if you're prepared, those nerves don't really serve you a purpose. It's your fight or flight. You know, we have fight or flight. So nerves, anxiety, in a lot of ways are preparing ourselves. It's like, Mario, you better be ready for this presentation. So you're going to be nervous. And as soon as I do the proper preparation, the nerves start to fade away. And then my mindset could change. Then I could just, be like, stuff just like exist. Be yourself, do your thing, and you'll be 100% fine. Maybe have a couple of tools with you along the way that could support you. But at the end of the day, nerves are your body preparing itself to go to battle, to fight, or to give a presentation, or for me to host my cooking show, or whatever the next big thing is. But they're a tool. They don't have to be such a detractor.
Right.
You're not going to freeze, your stuff. Like, how often does it ever happen that you see somebody just stand up and not be able to talk?
Yeah. Not often.
That doesn't actually happen often, but me personally, I used to think about that all the time. I'd be like, my body's just like torturing itself, self-sabotage, and it just wants to be like, Mario, what if you go up there and you forget English?
Right.
Forget your name. I'd be like, well, that would be horrible, but that's not going to ever happen.
Yeah.
Get the reality set in. I'm prepared. It's all going to be fine. Nothing bad happens.
I think you just, like you said, you just think of it, and like we said earlier, like if you just think of it as like, dude, I know this, like I talk about it every day. You know what I mean? It's like, it changes. Like, I mean, I was talking in front of like a lot of net worth, dude. Like, so that was a cool experience for me because, like I said, like when eventually, if I talk to an investor or just anything, like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, that's not that hard,
Yeah. Well, so something that could help you. So a way that you could actually prepare yourself for these high pressure situations is if you could practice something that is more challenging than whatever the challenge is at hand. So for me, for example, I host a cooking show. So one of the challenges and one of the things that I would get nervous sometimes for would be just, getting in front of cameras, doing a good job, going through these recipes and having a great job with my guests and hosting and everything that I have to do a good job. What's something that's more challenging than that is doing a live cooking demonstration for an audience of people. On camera, I could do a second take. Nobody's there really except for the crew. They all, accept me for who I am. They've seen me botch takes and do-overs, whatever, is totally fine. But what's more challenging, I could practice doing live cooking demonstrations that are more challenging because I don't have that extra space. So that's what I started doing. And that's why I started practicing giving more presentations. And just recently I gave like my biggest cooking demonstration at this event called Veg Fest in Los Angeles. And at the beginning, there were maybe like 40 or 50 people. But once I got going, there was a solid like 100 to 120 people who were watching me give this basically a live performance of my cooking show. And once that was over and that went well, in my entire perspective on what is challenging shifted.
Right.
Cooking in front of camera is no longer the challenge. Cooking in front of an audience live is the new challenge. So now every time I go into my cooking show, which is the actual thing that I have to be prepared for, it is so much easier.
Yeah.
And this is something that I learned from a book that I really liked called, blanking on what it is called. It's a really important book. But first of all, it's once you think about it, in a lot of ways, it's kind of common sense. But a lot of people don't put it into practice. And in this book, this author tells a story about the best soccer players in the world. So most of the best soccer players in the world come from the same small town. And he went in and he investigated. So what's up with this town? What's in the water? What's in the juice? What are they doing there? And what he learned was that in that town, they actually couldn't afford real soccer fields and real soccer balls. So they invented their own game with a smaller ball and smaller nets that's more challenging than actual soccer. So these kids would be brought up practicing a game that's so much more challenging than soccer. So when they actually came to playing actual soccer, it was like easy. It'd be like practicing golf with a stick. If you could learn how to hit a drive with a stick, then as soon as you have a driver, it becomes this massive thing and it's a piece of cake. So a big thing to help yourself prepare if you are constantly being put into high pressure situations is try and figure out what's the thing that's more challenging than what you actually have to be prepared for. How can you test yourself under those circumstances so that the actual challenge becomes easy, and that something else is the challenge. You
No,
know,
that's
like
dope, man. I when you first, what'd you say? Huge.
that's been huge for me. Yeah, like
No,
making that shift. I do that. I put that into practice all the time.
I'm gonna practice that because like that's the thing, like you said, or like I do that, but I don't think of it like that. Like when you first said that, what really hit me was a lot of people probably do this in like working out. You want to bench 200, so you hit 200, and then 185 is easy when it used to be hard, kind of thing. But
Yeah.
dude,
Yep.
I can relate to that. Obviously, I haven't talked in front of that many people, but for me, so I'm 26 now, but when I was 19, for 2 years, I did the dog training stuff before I went away to school. And then I was like intimidated because I'm talking in front of like rich people, successful, wealthy people, and they're older, like, anywhere from 30s to 70s. And I'm like a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah.
So that's how I've gotten good at like talking to people and not worrying about like being in front of people. And that's what helped me in the competition that I was telling you about, because for me, I'm like, I literally am standing in front of like families every day talking about this. So I just pictured it like that, and it's not hard. But yeah, man, that's dope. Maybe I'll try that with the Crafty Pup.
Yeah.
I've actually like a live training demonstration. I don't know, just like on Instagram or something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've been doing good about it. Like you've been posting more on social media and ramping that up. But yeah, if there's like something that to be more challenging, then it would make whatever the actual job is a lot easier.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah, a lot of people, and even to public speaking, like I love doing podcasts and giving people tools. I am a total fanatic for different life hacks and different tools. I also think they could easily be abused. I think you could easily over consume books and other people's information and experiences and get a little bit too obsessed with personal growth, which I've certainly been down that path. But something I did recently, which I mean, in a lot of ways is also just fun, is I go to these events called Toastmasters, and they're just like public speaking clubs for adults. A lot of people in my group are like, yeah, I want to do a better job in this corporate company that I work for. I want to be able to hold better business meetings. So they get a chance to practice their public speaking in a different environment and make it so that whatever they go back to, they're more familiar with, they're more prepared for. So I started doing that, and that honestly became a ton of fun, and it helped me in a lot of ways. I would test out ideas. I did a stand-up comedy bit for like 3 minutes where I was wearing a banana suit cracking jokes. Like I'm terrified of getting up on stage and being like, okay, make people laugh in the crowd. I think that's a lot of people's biggest fear. But I was like, man, if I could like do a stand-up comedy set, I can do anything, because it scared me so much. So Toastmasters, there are many clubs in all different cities and towns all across.
Are they here in Chicago?
I'm sure there's tons in Chicago.
I'll have to check it out.
In LA. Yeah, they're little mini organizations. If you were to just search Toastmasters, you could find a group meeting near you. Yeah, it's just an adult club, but that's something if people are interested, if you want to get better at public speaking, if you want to excel at your career, if it's something that you feel like is holding you back, highly recommend it. If you want to find yourself in a different social circle of people who are trying to better themselves, it's also a great way to meet like-minded people. They also have tournaments. If you're a competitive type of person, I really got into the competition of it all because I got off to a good start, and then now I'm entering into these speech competitions and I'm honing my craft. So highly recommend anybody check that out who's an adult and like, yeah, I want to take some more classes,
No, it's good. And I think too, we've talked about how we like to challenge ourselves. I know you're probably ahead of that curve than me, but like challenge yourself to new situations as far as like taking a class or like, like I tried yoga. I wanted to take a dance class. I know you did that at some point. Like I wanted to do that just to do it, like just to be in a weird situation and overcome it. So
it's a cool feeling.
But going back a little bit, you were talking about, how in the like entrepreneur world, I suck at saying that word, man, but that there's a lot of ups and downs, and I can relate to that too. There's definitely a lot of highs. There's definitely a lot of lows. And, my mentor, Jason, he talks about that too. And he posts a lot of stuff about that as far as like, if you look at it, it's like a graph. It's like you start here and you're like, say it's like, fuck, this day sucks. And then it's like, whoa, that was amazing. And then you're back here and you're like, can I do this? And it's like here. And you're like, I just got called by Dr. Joel Furman. And then you're like, well, that's over now. And now I pay $300 for the studio. And then I'm here. And it's like, it's crazy. So I think that's why a lot of people, I don't want to say like they don't last, because it's like there's so many boom, boom, boom. And it's like a nonstop, fast paced. thing. But I will say, like you said too, I think it's like that a lot in the beginning. Not saying it's ever going to like slow down, but the fact of like, when you're first starting out, dude, you're just like hitting your head against a brick wall, hoping that you like break a brick. And it like, fuck, dude. And you just keep going and keep going.
Yeah.
And then finally a
Resilient.
brick breaks though.
Yeah.
Finally, if you stick at it and you believe enough, then like crazy shit happens.
Oh yeah. I mean, like anybody out there, and I'm looking for this model person, but I've never really met or seen somebody who has the business success. Success can be looked at a lot of different ways. I understand that. Not everybody wants to be an owner of a business, and I think it's impossible to escape the stress and the pressure, so that's okay. It isn't for everybody, but it is the Instapreneur, so that's what we're going to talk about. If you are somebody who wants to have a business, I think that one of the biggest curses that can ever happen to somebody is beginner's luck, because beginner's luck sometimes makes it seem like it's too easy, and then when you get to that brick wall, you're more quick to give up. But if you start by breaking down brick after brick after brick, then you've prepared yourself for that journey. And like I said, in my experience, it is a journey. It is a lot of hard work. It is a lot of sacrifice. It is a lot of big bricks, and I'm far from where I want to go, but I will confidently and happily say that I've gotten to a place where I have a certain degree of comfort, where I broke down a lot of bricks, and now my show is able to survive and thrive and do well, and it's growing, and I'm more thinking about turning this into a much bigger company. So I've gotten to that place, but beginner's luck can be a total curse, because then sometimes you think it's a little bit too easy and you let go of that work ethic, and then it's quickly forgotten and you give up. But you can't give up if you don't want to give up. And that, I think, is one of the most important things to starting a successful business. So yeah, beginner's luck. I've had it. I'm always off to a good start on a lot of things, and sometimes it didn't prepare me for what was next. But there's a lot of hard work next.
It's all part of the journey though, now for next time or whatever. Like myself too, like I wouldn't say, I don't know, I didn't really have too much beginner's luck. I don't know, just because I haven't even sold, anything yet, because I haven't really made it live. But it's all the same. It's like you're working hard, and for the longest time I had all this momentum, blah, blah, blah. And then I had some stuff happen that slows down that momentum. And you kind of like sit there for a while, and you're like, I'm going to take a week off or whatever I did. And then it's like getting back into that routine is tough, because you're like, I'll do it tomorrow. And then, so you got to like set these habits. I mean, you got to set the deadlines and all this stuff. But for me, at least, like when I did run into this wall that I'm talking about, there's been multiple of them. Like one of them felt like the fucking Great Wall of China, dude. It was just like, I kept trying to climb that thing, man. And I just kept falling. But my mindset was like, dude, you've made it this far. You're not stopping now. So like, that's my stubbornness, but I think that's what you got to have, because like you said, it's going to be ups, downs. And if you get beginner's luck or whatever, you still got to like go through it, because, like when something comes here, it's going to eventually come down a little bit, or like, what do they say? Like what goes up must come down kind of thing. So it's like the same, man. It's, it's wild, but the more
Ryan, I gotta say, like, anybody who's listening in on this, Jimmy, I'm like so impressed at your resilience, and like I've seen some of the walls that you've faced mentally, physically, and however that looks. But got to applaud you for just like continue to try different things, like doing this podcast, doing the Crafty Pup, and like continuing to be willing and open-minded to everything that's involved in growing these businesses. So.
No, I appreciate that. Well, you too, though, man. Like I learned a lot of this stuff. I learned as far as the editing, and you helped me out a lot on it.
Oh, man.
Huh?
Anybody out there that wants to learn about video editing, don't learn about video editing. It will be a blessing and a curse. It's like
a great thing to learn, but at the same time, it's like, fuck, I got to edit this video. Dude, speaking of that, I got so much footage. But no, man, the way I look at it is like, I know what I want to do. And no one ever said it's going to be easy, man. Like I prepared myself for this. I told myself when I graduated college that I want to start businesses and either sell them or grow them. Yeah. And then like looking back and reflecting on what I'm doing, that's like kind of where I'm going. So like with my family business, we started the dog training up, and granted, my family's had this going for a while, so it's been very successful, but we haven't had the training. And in like 2 years, man, like the first year we're like double like, dude, like, what would that be? 100%. Yeah. Like 200% or 100%, like 130% increase projected. Like, it's crazy, man. So it's like when you put your time and effort and it's like chipping away at that wall, dude, eventually shit starts to fucking break, dude. And when it breaks, it's like an avalanche.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I've slowed down on the Crafty Pub, because I've been really busy over here training dogs, man.
Oh, we got dog trainer Jim over here.
Trainer Jim. But yeah, no, but that's the thing. You got to be resilient, man. You got to keep going. You got to not stop. Well, I mean, not stop as in like literally 24/7, but I mean, not stop as in like, if you're trying to get like here, you know, actually, I'm going to use this. I don't know what the word is, but I'm going to use this example. So one of my bosses, when I used to work at Audi, told me this. He said, if you are trying to get, we're just going to use the screen as an example. If I start here where my finger is, and I want to get here, it's not going to be a straight line usually. So like, you're going to hit bumps in the road. You're going to get, like, for instance, we'll use this example. Sorry, I'm going all over the place. We'll use the car. If I'm trying to drive to Mario in LA and I get a flat fucking tire an hour in, am I going to stop? No, I'm going to fix that tire and I'm going to go. If you get a speeding ticket on your way to the gym, are you going to not go work out? You're probably still going to go work out. It's just going to slow you down. So the concept is you're going to run into these things in life, in business. You could be listening to this and not even have or want your own business, and you still can relate to this if you choose to be open-minded. And it's not going to happen perfect. So like, if you keep going, you're going to get to your destination, but you might get a flat tire. You might get, I don't know, punched in the face. You know what I mean? Like, these things are going to happen, but like, you got to get back up and go, man. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy. Some of these times, these last year, that stuff that's we've both gone through, you know, but it's like, whoo, man, I got to keep going. And it's and prepares you for the next thing. And the way I look at it is like, it happens for a reason.
Yep.
So what happened to me and happened to you, like, it happens for a reason to set us up for like what's next. And it might be relationships, it might be business, whatever it is. All those things teach me lessons.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The craziest stuff and the craziest roadblocks. Like, if I think back on my life, like, some of the greatest lessons I ever learned came from horrible accidents even. You know, I know you had a similar experience, but like, even thinking back, so when I was in high school, I was in a car crash. I know you have a similar story, different, but how something so traumatic could change your life. And look, I was in high school and I was going to a party, and the driver was drunk and drove straight into a tree and fractured my spine, sent me to the hospital, horrible concussion, one of the most traumatic experiences of my entire life. And it turned out that through that accident, it created a string of events that happened that opened up the possibility for me to go to the University of Colorado for my first year of college, which is where I met a certain group of people that introduced me to entrepreneurship and getting on camera for the first time, that eventually led me to what I'm doing today. So even that, like,
it's crazy.
The most traumatic thing that like had ever happened to me ended up being one of the best things that ever could have happened to me. That's what
I said with my accident. And I had the podcast I filmed with Stern we did last night. We talk about this, but it's like, it's crazy, man. Looking back and reflecting, it's wild. Like, that was the best thing that happened to me, because it changed my mind. It changed my mindset.
Yeah.
And it's wild, man. Like, these bad experiences are, you know, I mean, you look at a lot of these, like, you know, rappers, sports, anyone, you know, that are big success. I mean, well, there's a lot of people that a lot of versions of success, but like the ones that are most in the fame, and you look at Logic, dude, look at like everything he went through, you know, like wild, man. And that's why, in my opinion, I think he kind of agrees is where he is, in as far as like how resilient he is, and just he's himself, and like he's on a mission to, you know, spread peace, love, and positivity, dude. And like, that's it, you know, because he did not have that as a kid. So so that's just his example. But for us, it's like, you know, the accident or whatever. But it's crazy, man. It's wild how like things like that happen. And yeah, I mean, you know, like even like for you, like, or for me and you, like, so this guy right here, he filmed the first version of my online course. So like, you know what I mean? And like, I sucked in front of a camera then, dude. Remember you telling me like, dude, you got to have more, like, you're like a zombie. And
I wasn't the best director, but
No, but then you're like, look, and I'm like, damn, because you don't realize it. And now I understand why people, because I'll ask my clients to leave like a testimonial, and people, they leave me them. But like, if you see the ones on Instagram where it's the dog, only the dog, it's because they aren't comfortable on camera.
yeah,
It's wild, man. So like someone like you and me, it's not even a big deal. But it used to be a big deal for me until like we started doing that. And then one of my other friends told me to start filming myself every day. So now like I record myself every day, like all day, because I have content. But it's like normal to me, dude. It's wild.
Yeah, the things that seem so foreign to us can so quickly become within our circle of comfortability, which is amazing. So just never hurl yourself to a lower standard than what you think is possible.
And yeah, and strive for that extra distance, you know, like for instance, I know you edited the crafty putt for me, but then like since I've added more videos and I had to learn, dude, like am I gonna pay someone all this money or do I learn it? How do I learn it? I just fucking did it, dude. I'm not a pro, but I mean a lot of people telling me my stuff looks good, so I'm doing something right.
Perfect. Yeah, a lot of times like the thing that holds people back is the simplest form of ego, but you just got to do it. You just got to put yourself out there. And these skills are all attainable. You know, I like to say it's YouTube University. You can learn anything on YouTube, but you just have to have the discipline to actually do it.
Right. No, that's very true. And then, yeah, I guess, you could. I just like jump into it, dude. And like, I mean, there's been a couple of videos I've looked on YouTube because I was like stuck on Premiere. I'll ask you or something, but now it's like once you get it going, man, it's like I know we said that editing can suck at times, but like at the same time, it's like it becomes easy once you.
Yeah, it can also just suck. It can be like sometimes I feel like it's a form of meditation. Even it's a love-hate relationship. Right. Anybody who's watching, you guys have no idea how many hours I've spent editing.
Yeah, this guy edits right at that
so much
under that basketball hoop on that table a lot.
Yeah,
but
my outdoor office.
No, that's the way to do it. I need to
right here. Step back, represent. Can you see the shirt? Anti-dairy social club.
There we go. Boom.
There we go. Try to help get into that healthy food.
Dude, yeah. And well, let's talk about healthy food again. So like, I know for you, and we've talked about this and myself included, when you eat, for people out there who aren't the healthiest, but maybe want to get healthy, try it.
Yep.
We talk about, or at least I do, it's like fuel. Your body's like a car and you put fuel into it. So like, it's like my classic example is like, if you have a Ferrari, are you going to put in the shitty gas or the good gas? It's going to run more efficient on the good gas. On the shitty gas, it's going to keep, whatever. It's going to eventually break. So that's what I see. Like I know a lot of people that eat very unhealthy.
Yep.
And all they do all day is complain. I'm going to use my dad as an example. So whatever, I'm going to call him out. So my dad doesn't eat the healthiest and he's always tired. And I know he works a lot, whatever, but it's like, if you ate healthy and drank water instead of pop, you would feel so much better. And I'm saying this from experience.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. That's like such an easy thing. So there are a lot of people in the United States right now that based on the standard American diet, the food that we're eating, our bodies just aren't working at 100%. There's this disease that I learned about called Candida, which is like a bad bacteria overgrowth in our gut. And what happens is when we're eating unhealthy food, our body releases the wrong types of bacteria to digest those foods, and we can't digest all the foods at once, and it's this constant battle within our gut to try and digest this food. And what happens is a lot of sugar doesn't get digested, and then this Candida starts to feed off that sugar, and then we just have this bad gut bacteria. And basically that just makes you operate a little bit slower, like at 90%. So that's something that I learned like most Americans have. Most of us have Candida because we have bad bacteria that's feeding off the sugar that's in our gut. So we're operating at 90% when we could be operating at 100. So that's like step one.
How do you get rid of that though?
You got to do a full cleanse. And I'm not even perfect right now. Like I know I could be operating a little bit better, but a lot of ways you have to do a full cleanse. You have to get rid of fast food. You have to get rid of eating a lot of sugar. If you are going to eat sugar, if you are going to eat fruits, you want to eat them independently of other foods because your body needs a certain type of digestive enzyme to digest the sugar versus other things. So you kind of got to take a step back, and it doesn't all have to be at once. You could take those gradual steps towards eating healthier. But at the end of the day, most people in the United States will want to do a total gut reset if you want to get to a point where you could operate at a much higher level. And for me, I fully experienced it. I was eating unhealthy, switched to being healthy. I did the total like raw cleanse. I fasted for 7 days at a time. I went the total extreme. You don't have to go so extreme, and I encourage you to do your own research. But most people need to take a step back, cleanse their bodies, and then start filling it with the right stuff if you ever want to get to that point where you are just like feeling like you're living up to your potential. And that's like one of the first things that most people should do.
God.
And I think is so important.
Is there like a quick answer to like if I was to do a cleanse like starting tomorrow? Like, is there a quick answer, or is it like complicated?
There is a quick answer. So most cleanses start with a day, like an adaptive period where you're just eating raw fruits and vegetables. And then after that, you eat less raw fruits and vegetables. And then after that, you have juice, and then you do like a water fast for a day. And then you slowly work the food back into your diet. It takes about like 5 to 6 days to go through this whole process. And in that process, your body is going to digest and have an opportunity to digest all that crap in your stomach that's slowing you down, and it gives you that body reset. So that would be the steps. To be starting by raw, eating less, eating juice, just water, and then bring it back in and spend about 5 days doing it. And it's one of those things where, a little bit of effort for a couple months or even just a month could change the rest of your life. That was like for me. You
did that, correct?
Oh yeah.
So like, how's your energy on that when you do that?
I mean, I feel amazing.
Well, now, but I'm saying as it happened. Like,
you're going to go through some form of like headache, withdrawal. It's like if you're somebody who drinks coffee every day, then you stop drinking coffee and you feel like you're having withdrawals. Like you'll experience that. Your body will be craving sugar. Your body will be craving the things that it's familiar with. And you'll get a headache. You might feel sick, but you just got to get through it.
Gotcha.
That's a big part of it. Yeah.
But so like, did you like, was this when you were consistently working out, or is this before you did that?
That was before that. This was
like,
before.
I work out 5-6 days a week. So would I like not work out during this, or just battle through it?
I mean, you might want to take like, this could be a big thing. You might want to take the time to like do your own independent research as well. Like follow a juice cleanse, like look up Dr. Joe Furman. I will. I always have to cite this whenever I start talking about these medical things. Like I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert at these things, but I have learned from a bunch of experts, and I have my own experiences that I could pick and piece from. But even when it comes to doing research, like a lot of times people say you're doing research, but you're really just doing research of research. You can't read a book and do research. You're reading research is like taking your own body's temperature, doing something, and then taking it again, or doing that with a select group of people. Like we're not doing research. We are researching research, then applying it to ourselves and conducting our own research on our own bodies, then having a result. So
no, that makes sense, because everyone's body is going to act differently. Yours be different than mine. And two, I mean, like you said, kind of changing the topic a little, but like for me, as far as business and just life, like I look at things you do, and I look at things Gary Vee does, and Grant Card, like, and everyone, and then I spin it off into my own little thing. So I can get to that, but I'm definitely going to check that out, because like I did a cleanse a while back, but I
considered doing that. Another big thing on food that I think connects with a lot of people really easily is this idea that so many of us are like addicted to fast food, and then a lot of times we'll eat a lot of food and we'll still be hungry. I don't even know if we're hungry, but we're still craving food. And then you look at like a vegetarian and you say, well, that would never fill me up. That's so much less food. That's so much less calories. But the physical amount that it fills up your stomach is way larger than all these other fast and processed foods. And there's one thing that your body absolutely needs and can only get from fruits and vegetables, and that is fiber. And there is no fiber in animal-based products. And the way that your body works with fiber is your body in your gut, it has receptors that'll let your body know that you've had enough fiber and signal it to stop craving food. So if you never get enough fiber, your body will always be craving nutrition, because it's like, hey, you're still hungry, because your body's like, I need to eat more food, so I feel hungry because I need to get to that fiber. But then you just keep filling it with crap and you're not getting that fiber. So your gut's still being like, I'm not full, send me fiber. And it makes you feel hungry, but you're not actually hungry. You're just craving a certain degree of nutrition that your body could signal to your brain that you've had enough food, you could stop eating because you fulfilled your nutrition requirement. But if you never fulfill your nutrition requirement, your body's always going to be craving food. Plus that food is highly addictive because the salt and the sugar, the flavor, the taste, everything that goes into it. But on the back end, if you're not filling your body with enough fiber or enough nutrients, you're always going to feel hungry because your body is engineered to tell itself it needs more nutrition until it's fulfilled. And you won't get unless you have fiber, which comes from fruits and vegetables. That's like a key thing. Like people
mic drop. No, that's good, dude. That's a good learning thing for me, man, because I never thought of it like that. I didn't know that. But like, for instance, looking back at some of the people that I said eat unhealthy, they eat so much fucking food, and it's because it's all fast food. So what you're saying, it's like they're hungry even though they're not hungry, but their mind's telling them because it doesn't have the fiber, dude. So I totally hits home. That makes sense. That's cool. Damn. All right. I was gonna say something else, but I forgot.
my healthy food preach. I got a lot of them.
No, that's good though. That's like, yeah, man. Because like the healthy.
I think it's important. A big thing for me too is like, how can we get this information out there? So fiber, for example, that information, I think it's so important. I think it's something that a lot of people don't know. And one thing that I'm really trying to hone in on with what I'm doing with my cooking show is how can we make this type of information more accessible, more mainstream, more understood? And how could kids grow up knowing these types of things? Because I remember when I was growing up, I didn't know these types of things.
Yeah, we just ate like pretzels and everything.
Yeah, like cereal and milk like every single day. Like I was a total cereal and milk person. And one of the things that I think is the most important shift that is also happening in the food industry, which hopefully I'm going to be a part of and continue to grow and continue to work on, is how much marketing and branding affects the things that we think we know about certain things, or hides the things that we should know so that we don't think about them, so that we consume the products that are advertised and marketed to us. And that, for example, which really, really relates to me, are the Got Milk campaigns and the characters on the back of cereal boxes growing up. So if you're a part of my generation, I'm sure a lot of you guys would wake up and before school, you'd have a bowl of cereal and you'd be looking at the back of the box. You'd see the Lucky Charms guy, or you'd see Tony the Tiger going on some kind of adventure. There'd be a crossword puzzle. You'd be watching TV. It would be ESPN or SportsCenter. There'd be a commercial of Michael Jordan and a Got Milk commercial with a milk mustache. And it'd be like, oh yeah, I'm doing it all right. I got my milk. It's good for my bones. I got my cereal. It's what the cool cartoons are eating. You know, I'm set. But really, first of all, milk in so many ways has been stripped of nutrition because we're not feeding. The cows aren't eating what they used to eat. So milk isn't even the same milk that it used to be. It's like nothing. And then they fortify it with like fake nutrition and say it's like high in calcium and vitamin D, but those are really just vitamins that they added back into it, which aren't as effective as getting it from the original source, which you could get a lot of this from plant foods anyways. So that's a whole different story. But the whole idea is that this marketing, these campaigns would make me so excited to eat sugary things and unhealthy things every single morning. So it's like, how can we take those principles, those things that are exciting, those things that make kids want to eat certain types of foods, and apply them towards things that are actually going to fuel us and actually be good for us? And that's the shift, and that's the growing process that's happening. But at the same time, as these healthy food companies are trying to get that exposure, these bigger companies are also working with the television networks, and they're like, oh, we don't want like a soy milk commercial on a TV channel where we've been putting our milk commercials on for so long. So there's this other huge degree of resistance. And I also think there's a lack of that creativity and innovation in the natural organic health food space, which is why on my show, like I'm working on a line of little animated characters, you know, VeggieTale style. Like I would love to have a cute little beet where when I'm talking about how drinking beet juice affects the oxygen levels in your blood, how I could have a cute little beet like swimming through the blood veins, providing oxygen so it gives you more energy, so you get a better workout when you're going out to recess to play kickball with your friends as a kid. And then also have that be a show that's relatable to the parent who's watching and can get that information in a way that is accessible to them as well. So that's something that I'm really working on, something I'm super passionate about, is that
I think that's a good idea, dude.
Heavily manipulated by the marketing, and that health food companies have a lot to learn from what really good marketing has looked like and worked for so many years and created this industry that we now have and so many people still trust
programmed.
More about. Exactly.
It's wild, man. Like even some of my own family members at one time, I'll never forget, like I don't know, it's probably a couple of years ago, but like my mom asked me if I wanted like V8 juice, and I'm like, I don't drink that shit. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, she's like, it's 100% juice. Cause that's what it says on the freaking label, but the whole label laws, that's a whole nother story, but it's wild. It's like people think, and especially older people as in like our parents' age and our grandparents, like they've just been programmed like, do this, do that, take Advil when you have a headache, take this, do this, go to the doctor, do this, get x-rays, like all this shit, when it's like, it's all a business. And when you change your mindset and when you know what's going on, it's crazy. But talking to people, like, people don't understand, and I'm trying to help people too.
How can we reach people? And you can't be too pushy. You got to find the right space. And this is a crazy thing that happened to me on my show. So on my show, I invite the guests. They give the information. I'm just learning. I can't say that enough. So I'm not giving medical advice to anybody on my show, but some kid who was about my age, who I knew from high school, he was watching my cooking show, and he was seeing some of the things that I was doing and talking about plant-based food, totally new to him, had no idea that he should even be reconsidering the food that he was eating until he was told that he had high blood pressure. And this was a person in like their young 20s told that they have high blood pressure, and he's given medication to reduce his blood pressure. The doctor doesn't say like, hey, what's causing this? The doctor says, hey, here's a pill that could fix the symptoms of this or whatever, and exactly. And that's what they're told to do. So he's given this medication, and after a month of taking it, his blood pressure doesn't go down. And then the month after that, he's inspired through a number of things and starts eating healthy vegan food, and his blood pressure goes down and he gets off the medication. Literally a month on meds, nothing happened. Healthy food, got rid of it. Now, if he didn't see that, he would have been stuck on blood pressure medication for the rest of his life.
And that would have probably caused more issues.
Yeah, once you start that, they're not trying to get you off of that. They're like, it's like whatever next bill coming. Man,
it's like Netflix. It's like, here, pay this per month.
Yeah.
You want that recurring revenue, man.
Recurring revenue. So it's like, that was just insane to me. And that's where it's just like, this type of stuff, this type of information is so important to shift. The food industry is such a big thing, and we're up against a beast. It takes creative entrepreneurship to hone in on ideas in a unique way and hopefully flip this thing around. There's a lot of big companies, a lot of big players who are doing positive stuff. I'm not saying it's all up to the little guys, but man, we're in desperate need of creativity and innovation that is making people's lives better before it's too late. In a lot of ways.
I mean, I hear you. And then, we could talk about this a different time, because I know we don't want to be on all night, but the fact that effects on, our resources, our natural resources, our world, just everything, man, it's crazy, not sustainable, blah, blah, blah. But we talk about that later, but yeah, it's wild. It's crazy. And I will say it's cool though, for me, even in the since I was out there with you, like even since then, I've seen a lot more people that I know, and also just random people on Instagram that are doing like the more healthy approach. So it's cool to see. It's like, and everyone's got their own ways, whether it's like the self-healing yourself instead of like going to get depressant or going to get drugs for like if you're depressed, but you might not actually be, you might just be going through some stuff. Now I'm sure there are people that actually are depressed, but I'm saying like, I know people personally that like just had bad lifestyle habits. And once they got off the meds, they actually for depression, they felt better because those meds, yeah, that's a whole other thing. But it's like these shifts that you make in your own life that change, like for me, like eating healthy and eating a lot of vegetables. Like I know you were joking around the other day when I had Yeti in the camera, just eating broccoli. You're like, you're just carrying around raw. Dude, that's what I do. I just walk around all day. Not all day. I just carry broccoli and carrots. Look, I got I got a carrot right here, dude. I just
Yes, yeah,
dude, but
yeah.
also too, like one of my other mentors, he's an older dude and he's a bodybuilder, man. He eats 5 carrots a day, and his eyesight has gotten better. His doctors are like, "Why the fuck has your eyes gotten better? You're getting older." He's like, "I don't know. I mean, I eat 5 carrots every day." So
Yeah.
crazy
That's
stuff.
that's what we've always heard as kids. Carrots are good for your eyes.
I always heard that, but I never really like took it into account. But now I eat carrots every day. I eat broccoli every day.
There we go.
Wild stuff, man. Cool. Well, I know we're cutting close. We're a little over this hour here, and I know you're gonna go work out, and I'm gonna go work out. But do we have anything else we want to chat about before we kind of?
I think that I'll say this because this is something that comes up all the time, and it stems off of what I'm talking about. And I think that the most important thing that anybody can choose to do right now is spend your money on companies and things that you believe in and support and have a transparent form of business, like companies that are actually showcasing what they're doing. And I'll tie this specifically to food. So think about this. What is the industry that controls the majority of the land in the United States? The food industry. And who do you want to control all that land? Like, who do we actually want to give the responsibility of controlling all this land in the United States? We want it to be somebody that's going to be transparent about the ingredients that they're putting in the food, not somebody who's going to put chemicals and try and hide it and then backtrack on lawsuits and try and cover it up and then make a change once it's forced upon you. Right. So it's so important that we vote with our dollar. The more that we put money towards healthier food, the cheaper it'll become. Everybody, I do agree that if you were to go to a nice vegan restaurant, you might have to pay like $16 to $20 for like a really good lunch. And it is expensive.
It goes back to that good gasoline though, man. You gotta pay for what you get.
Yes. And also, I mean, these things will become more affordable as the demand for them increases. Like right now, the Beyond Meat had the first IPO for a vegan company. And I'm not saying Beyond Meat has great healthy ingredients because that's a whole other topic. But the more that people spend on these alternatives, the more the manufacturing is going to go up and the cheaper the cost is going to be to manufacture it. And eventually it'll become the same price. Like we can get healthy food down to the price of McDonald's if people were buying that much healthy food. So we have to bite the bullet now while it's a little bit more expensive to put the money towards it, to showcase the demand, to inspire startups to create the innovation to bring those costs down. And it's one of those things where it's like, we might have to take a step backwards before we can take 2 steps forward. But like anybody who's listening or watching or thinking about this, like really think about every single time you purchase a food item, that is a vote towards who and how the future of our country is going to look. Do we want to be the most obese country in the world? Do we want to have heart disease be the #1 killer? Those things don't have to be a thing if our food system changed. So vote with your dollar, eat healthy food, bite the bullet right now, and it'll become more affordable. And, we'll be looking really good in 10 to 15 years from now, and our kids are going to have a much brighter future. So that's like my closing rant.
And you have a lot more energy too, just for people out there who don't eat healthy. And like we said, we're both not perfect. We're trying to, get better. But yeah, man, it's a lot. There's a lot to learn. Cool. So with that being said, where can people watch your show?
Trying Vegan with Mario is streaming on Roku right now. So if you have Roku, if you're in New York City and you have Optimum, it's on Channel 1 Wednesday mornings at 7:30 a.m. Optimum in New York City. And then I just started a YouTube channel for Trying Vegan with Mario where I'm posting only my favorite segments from some of the first episodes. So, and then lastly, Instagram, Mario Fabbri _Trying Vegan. Those are all the places that you can find my stuff.
Cool. So what I'll do too is I'll put your Instagram, because I'm sure people don't know how to spell your last name. So I'll put that in the bio. We'll put all the shit in the bio. So you check his stuff out. He's got a lot of cool little 1-minute clips, on Instagram that are cool, educational kind of thing. He posts a lot of cool stuff, a lot of videos, some funny stuff too. So you get some of the humor behind it. But cool, man. I think that was a good conversation, and that definitely could help a lot of people out.
Yeah, appreciate
So,
it. Thank you for having me, and keep doing what you're doing, man.
yeah, man. And with that being said, I ask everyone one little question. I say, if you are right now 18 and you're like walking the hall at GVN about to graduate, like what is something you would tell yourself now, or how do I word this? What was something like that you would tell your old self, like now that you would tell your old self? It could be anything, like business, life, like
Oh,
put you
what
on the
would
spot.
no, I love that question. I have a couple of different answers to it. What would I tell myself?
It doesn't
18.
have to be like one thing. It could be whatever.
Oh man, it could be too many things. Okay, so just to paint a picture, at the time I was 18. I was walking the halls of GBN. I was preparing to go to the University of Colorado. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I had a meeting with my guidance counselor, and he said, Mario, you're really, really good at math. You should become an actuary because it requires the skills that you have, and it is one of the most promising, high-paying jobs through the year of 2020. So you're going to make a certain amount of money, and what an actuary does is you calculate statistics for insurance companies. So that was what my life expectation was. I went to the University of Colorado for a year and a half, and during that time I was just doing insane amounts of statistics and calculus and spending wild amounts of money on college tuition, and I was enjoying school at the time. But that's where I was when I was 18 years old. And what I would say to my 18-year-old self is something that I'd probably say to myself right now, and that is, honestly, like, don't take yourself so seriously. Have more fun, and don't have such a plan for everything. I think I had a plan to be an actuary, and it crippled me for a while, and it made me not like it.
Right.
So I would say, I'd be like, Mario, like, let go of any plan or preparation for the things that you want to do. Things are going to work out. Enjoy, have fun, and you will be really surprised what you're actually going to end up doing with your time 8 years from now.
Dope, man. That's a good one. That's a good one. Cool. Well, we'll end on that one. So thanks for listening, everyone. I'm Jimmy C. This is Mario Fabbri. Mario, thanks for coming on. I'll post everything in the bio, so go check this dude out. He's up to some cool shit. And I've been saying this for a while, but he's blowing up, and it's only a matter of time till he's a fucking good-ass network. Big-ass network. But yeah, man, cool. So we're going to sign off. I'm Jimmy C., host of the Instapreneur podcast. And thank you guys for tuning in. Mario, peace.